Rickey Henderson is widely known as the fastest runner in baseball history, or at least the best base runner. After all, MLB records of 1,406 career stolen bases, almost 500 more than the next closest on the list, and 130 single-season swipes don't really leave much room for debate. However, what if I were to tell you that there was a player who was not only a faster runner and better base stealer than Rickey, but also a contemporary of his? A player who, if not for injuries and character issues, might today hold nearly every leg-related record in the books. A player named Vince Coleman. Vince came up in 1985 as a 23-year-old out of Florida A&M University, where he had set the all-time single-season stolen base record at a D1 program with 7 steals in a single game and 65 steals in a season. The young Vince immediately made an impact on the bags, swiping a mind-boggling 110 bases in that inaugural campaign, despite reaching base just 219 times in total. This would start a pattern for Coleman, being both a poor hitter in the box and an elite runner when he finally did reach. This is where we see our first difference between Rickey and our titular character. You see, for context, Rickey managed to reach base 287 times during his first 100 steal campaign, and would consistently rack up a high OBP from then out due to both decent power numbers and a high walk rate. In fact, aside from a roided Barry Bonds, Rickey still holds the MLB record for walks overall, at 2,190. Vince, however, was never a strong hitter. His top single-season OPS plus of 104, put up in both 1990 and 1992, wouldn't rank in the top 10 of Henderson's, yet Coleman competed with him every year on the bases in his heyday. He would manage to steal over 100 bases each of the next 2 seasons after his rookie year, becoming the first player ever to start their career with triple-digit swipes in each of their first 3 campaigns. He would slow down a bit following this streak, but not by much, rounding out the decade by leading the NL in stolen bases every year from 1988 to 1990, never swiping less than 65. This established for him yet another record, as he was the first player ever to start his career leading his league in swipes for 6 straight seasons. In June 1990, he also recorded his 500th stolen base in just his 804th game, the fewest that any player had needed to reach that milestone. Just a note here, I couldn't find any footage of Coleman on the Mets, so most of the background footage will be still of his time in St. Louis. Apologies for the asymmetry. Things would never again be so good for Vince, however. After signing a 4-year, $12 million contract with the Mets, he would immediately run into trouble, often ignoring or misinterpreting his coach's signs on the base pads and arguing openly with his coaches in the dugout. In September 1992, he got into a fight with his own manager, Jeff Torberg, and was suspended for 2 games. The Mets seemingly had enough and tried to trade him, but there were no takers. His increasingly reckless behavior would continue the following years. In April 1993, Coleman injured Dwight Gooden's arm by recklessly swinging a golf club in the clubhouse. Coleman was charged with endangerment when he threw a lit firecracker into a crowd of baseball fans waiting for autographs in the Dodger Stadium parking lot. The explosion injured 3 children. Character issues aside, Coleman never stole more than 38 bases with the Mets, or played in more than 92 games. Hamstring injuries nagged at him throughout his time in New York as well, putting a major damper on his once lightning speed. Coleman chose to blame another culprit, the natural grass at Shea Stadium. He believed that the artificial turf at Busch during his years with the Cards had bolstered his numbers massively. "What this field is doing is keeping me out of the Hall of Fame," he was quoted as saying on the subject. It was obvious a change of scenery was needed. So, in 1994, he was traded to the Royals, whom he stole 50 bases for that season, and 26 the next, before being traded to the Mariners midway through the 1995 campaign, where he finished out his year with 42 total swipes. At just 33, and still swiping bases at an elite level, while coming off a season where he batted nearly 290, it seemed obvious Vince would get some level of interest on the open market. But this simply wasn't the case. Those same character issues limited the number of teams interested in him, and he had to take small stopgap offers just to continue playing in the majors. After short, disastrous stints with both the Reds and Tigers, with which he posted a negative 44 OPS plus, and a couple years of bouncing around the minor leagues, Coleman decided to hang up his cleats in 1998. Vince Coleman stole 752 bases in just 1,371 MLB games. Compared to even Rickey's mark of 1,406 and 3,081, this is staggering. And while he was known at times as a reckless runner, it's important to note that his career stealing success rate of 80.9% is actually marginally better than Rickey's at 80.7%. In my mind, it's no doubt. Vince Coleman is the best base runner in MLB history, bar none, if he only could have gotten out of his own way.